You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus.
They don't want the people to know this truth.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Two-Shot Factor. Dr. Fauci lies.
Yeah, I'm a liar. I'll tear your mind out. I'll burn your soul.
Under the Freedom of Information Act, news organizations gathered thousands of pages of emails and information from Dr. Fauci from the early part of 2020. Republicans' attacks on the nation's top government infectious disease expert have gone into overdrive. Overdrive. I mean, what do you think they're going to happen when you got all these emails popping up with this information? You know, that he knew stuff about this in 2020 and we didn't know. Fauci has been baselessly pilloried. Pilloried? What kind of word is that?
Pilloried.
He's been labeled as a liar who misled people about the origins of COVID to protect the Chinese government. Protect! There's no evidence of wrongdoing. Fauci is now under fire by conservatives who didn't do enough research to investigate where the virus originated. I'm sorry, we're getting a phone call here. Well, that was pretty pathetic. People phone one time and you know what that is? That's people that see these videos, my videos, and they're trying to scare me. Like if I was to pick up the phone, they just hang up. So I get frightened. But we don't get scared here at Two-Shot Factor. You know, it seems everything the Republicans accuse the Dems of doing these days is baseless. That's a term they've been using for a while here, a lot. And if you have political opposition that is so wrong all the time, why even acknowledge it on your media outlet?
'Cause I'm a liar.
Dr. Anthony Fauci's view on where the virus started. That's after several news organizations obtained thousands of pages of Fauci's emails under the Freedom of Information Act from the first months of 2020, including one sent by Dr. Francis Collins, the head of the NIH. Its subject line, Conspiracy Gains Momentum.
There are 27 labs, including the one in Wuhan, that are authorized for payouts from NIH. It's like the rats of NIM all over again. Marco Rubio, in this video here we're going to show, is questioning Dr. Fauci.
Why did you dismiss the lab leak theory as credible?
I have always said that the high likelihood is that this is a natural occurrence. I didn't dismiss anything. I just said it's a high likelihood that this is a natural occurrence from the environment of an animal reservoir that we have not yet identified.
SARS, we knew about the host animal in 4 months. MERS was 9. And COVID, we still don't.
It's now been 15 and a half, 16 months. We've still not seen, and China's not produced any evidence of the host animal that transmitted COVID-19 to a human.
Peter Dzonk, the founder of Eco EcoHealth Alliance, has gained $100 million over the last few years. There's secret money, there's funds from the government, the Pentagon, there's research. And he thanked Fauci for supporting the idea that COVID was a natural virus.
China has all the incentive in the world to produce this host and hasn't done so. And then you add up all these other things. I mean, is it just a coincidence that happened in the city that's doing this kind of research?
How much of American taxpayer money was used to fund the Wuhan Lab? We know that Peter Dzonk has sent as much as $3 to $4 million to Wuhan and almost $40 million on Pentagon funding and militarized pandemic science.
What about Dr. Lim and Yan? Chinese virologist says Dr. Fauci emails prove her Wuhan Lab leak claims.
You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus.
They don't want the people to know this truth. They don't want the people to know this truth. They don't want the people to know this truth.
A Chinese virologist, who was among the first to suggest the COVID-19 virus leaked from a Wuhan lab, said that U.S. top coronavirus advisor Anthony Fauci's emails prove that she was right all along. They verify my work from the very beginning, even from last January, that these people know what happened, but they choose to hide for the Chinese Communist Party and for their own benefits. Yan insisted, speaking of the treasure trove of documents released this week.
One of the papers was labeled Gain of Function, and at the end of that paper, Bat virologist Dr. Shi Zhengli thanks Dr. Fauci's organization NIAID, N-I-A-I-D, which is part of the NIH, and she also lists the serial number for money sent from the U.S. She received this money. Even some other scientists are disagreeing with this gain-of-function research. Fauci's been in favor of gain-of-function research since the beginning. This was mentioned in his emails. Gain-of-function research involves experiments that can increase the transmissibility or the virulence of pathogens. Fauci seems to be trying to prevent research into the origins of the virus. When the virus exploded in China, Fauci did not mention gain-of-function research or other research activities.
You want to see what it takes to find the truth, Agent Mulder? You want to know of the things I know?
U.S. intelligence has concluded that 3 researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology got sick before the first case was even mentioned in news.
Do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect. We do not, it is not gain of function. We do not, I don't favor gain of function. I do not, has not funded, we did not fund gain of function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute.
They only have one policy. Deny everything.
We can take a look at some words of advice from Russell Brand. Carlos?
In the event that it did emerge naturally, it's a really mad, mental coincidence, isn't it? Like, it's like, that's weird, isn't it, that natural virus came out of there. Like, if you had paint all over you and you worked at Dulux, you're like, oh, what happened today at Dulux? Nothing. Oh, I had a good day at the old Dulux. Yeah, but you're covered in paint. Oh, no, that happened in nature. I was out in nature and a bat flew by and it must have had some Dulux on it.
Brand, of course, a shortened acronym of my name, Gerbrand.
Based on everything I've just cited, what is it that we're basing the higher likelihood of naturally occurring? Is it simply because that's all we've ever seen in the past?
Well, we have historical experience that happened with SARS-CoV-1. It happened with MERS. It happened with HIV. It happened with virtually all the influenza pandemics.
Zoonosis, or zoonotic diseases, is an infectious disease caused by a pathogen that has jumped from an animal to a human. This is just Wikipedia here.
Derek Two-Shot pretends to be smart by reading stuff straight from Google.
Google to sound smart or whatever. Ebola and Salmonellosis are zoonosis. Can we get the different pronunciations on that, Carlos?
Zoonoses.
Zoonoses or zoonoses.
You want to know why? 'Cause I'm a liar. Yeah, I'm a liar.
HIV was a zoonotic disease and is now mutated to a separate human only disease. Sometimes I think about this virus as almost like the symptoms range from death and serious symptoms, generally in people with prior health conditions and old age and whatnot, and vulnerability, down to flu, and a lot of times mild like flu symptoms. And of course, some of these include no symptoms. People have this virus and are asymptomatic. I've heard all kinds of different stories on the percentage of people who have been asymptomatic. I've heard stories as much as 60% of COVID cases are asymptomatic. Now, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I mean, we can look at some research here. Carlos?
Evidence suggests that about 1 in 5 infected people will experience no symptoms, and they will transmit the virus to significantly fewer people than someone with symptoms. Research early in the pandemic suggested that the rate of asymptomatic infections could be as high as 81%, but a meta-analysis published last month, which included 13 studies involving 21,708 people, calculated the rate of asymptomatic presentation to be 17%.
And we can see that there's a good chunk of people nonetheless that are asymptomatic. So many people sitting there told they can't do anything, they can't go to this store, they can't go to this party, they have to isolate, they have to wear masks, and they don't even feel sick. They don't have, but yet they can spread it apparently. You know, there's someone coughing with a flu over there that's almost better. I'm little bit, it's going away. It's pretty much gone. And no one even cared about that stuff.
But there are worse viruses. This is a bad one. This has about a 1% mortality. 3.5 million people have died. But they've been experimenting with some viruses that have 15% mortality.
And there's no way they'd let that out. You know, that's the thing. Ebola came over here in, I believe, 2014. It hit Dallas, Texas. It was in Texas. And it actually worked its way up to Manhattan. There were a few isolated cases, and then it just disappeared. It was really bad in Africa, of course, but they put a lid on this right away. Travel bans were initiated and things were cleaned up and quieted down immediately. You think that if they really wanted, they couldn't have done that here? Trump tried to put the travel ban, and Democratic, media outlets were accusing him of being hard on, obviously you got your Mexicans, you got your Muslims. He's trying to clean up things, and they just want everyone to be happy, like this sing-along with no consequences. Kind of like, 9/11, the terrorists had box cutters, knives on plane. Now you can't. You have all these rules that popped up. There were people saying, "Oh, you're infringing upon rights." So I put up a news video that included some parody aspects, but regardless, I mean, there was no proof to it, so it was medical misinformation. A post on Facebook will have one of those COVID things, fact checkers. It's false information. And they'll have this little thing that blocks the thumbnail or the picture of the link, and you say, ignore this or choose to continue to watch. I mean, how many times did you see that with 9/11? I mean, there were so many things that popped up. It took a while, too, as we got into the early internet days, and that helped to spawn it, I think. And I'm not even the biggest believer in the conspiracy, as much as there's a lot of evidence to support it. I'm just saying that, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. The point is freedom of speech, and we have zillions of people making videos showing how some of them are ridiculous, like the planes were CGI enhanced or something. That's just stupid. I mean, the normal stories that you hear of why, the bombs in the towers, even that one is a little hokey, obviously, but still, there are lots of, like the Pentagon, where'd the plane go? Was it Flight 93? The one in Pennsylvania, whatever it was. You know what I mean? We have all these ideas come up, and people can say that stuff. None of that stuff gets taken down. None of it. And this, the moment you look cross-eyed at Pfizer, you got something bad to say about Moderna, Fauci, he's wrong, or COVID wasn't from an animal. Like, anything could be medical misinformation, and you might even get your video taken down.
There are people out there who had Facebook posts taken down, were called kooks, conspiracy theorists, for saying publicly a year ago what we now say may be possible. And I think those people deserve an apology at a minimum.
Our entire year and a half and many lives have been ruined by some guy's guinea pig experiment. The guy's playing God with the world.
He notes all these things. She insisted of Fauci and the apparent gain-of-function work carried out by the now-notorious Wuhan Institute of Virology in the heart of the city where the pandemic first emerged. One email, she said, showed that Dr. Fauci even back to 1st of February last year immediately realized that there would be gain-of-function experiment involved in the COVID-19 virus. Over 3,000 pages of emails were obtained by the Washington.
Okay, thanks for watching the Two Shot Factor. Make sure to subscribe. First of all, I want to make sure you subscribe. I just want to remind you to subscribe. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Two Shot Factor. What the hell are we talking about again? The Delta variant, also known as B1762. It seems everything these days the Republicans do and accuse Democrats of is baseless. That's a term that's just trending. They've been saying that, they've been using that a lot, and hold on a second. Oh, well, that doesn't really prove anything. There's no actual evidence. These are just some fabricated. Fauci's song there, Roland's band classic called Liar, where Dr. Fauci chose to sing as obviously a confession of his lies and why he didn't tell us about, tell the people, the people of the entire planet. He sent one to Dr. Francis Collins, head of the NIH, saying the conspiracy gains momentum. But we don't get scared here at Two Shot Factor. We don't get scared of... Sorry, I'm just having auditory hallucinations from some of the antipsychotic medication that I've been taking. But it's not funny. Some of those problems are serious, and you should never mock those who take antipsychotic medication. And more importantly, you should never mix it with alcohol. Side effects may include... What else do we got here?